What's up, you all? On the Spectrum, episode 15, we're going to be exploring the dark side of the feminine. It's going to be a good conversation. Tap in with us.
That's the way everything goes. Every time we lose control. If the sky is big and wide, if the ground is begging, it's the same way you show.
Hey,
We're in
hey,
there. We're in there.
hey, you guys.
What's happening, everybody? What's happening? What's happening? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Tonight's musical guest, Frank Ocean,
Frank Ocean.
ladies and gentlemen.
Yo, what happened to him, man? Kind of like,
I need to know.
I think he had like a
I need
bad
to
show.
know.
I wasn't like the Grammys or something. I don't know what it was. He had a bad show and it just kind of like fell off. I don't know what happened.
Mm. Well, you and I both agree that the fame is seldom worth it.
Say it again.
I said we both agree that the fame is seldom worth it.
Yeah, we agree with that one.
Yeah.
Just kind of make your money and disappear. That's my plan. That's my plan.
That should be all of our plans.
I always tell my mom that I'm gonna make my money and then just go become a goat hoarder in New Zealand. Spanish. Get off the globe, man. It's gonna happen.
I want to go to New Zealand. And hey, Ro, I see you in the chat room. Hello. Hey, Mama. Carlos, welcome back, love. Hey, Keith and Naya. Hey, you guys. We'll be getting started in about 2 minutes. Carlos says New Zealand is beautiful, by the way.
Man, I never been. I want to
Yeah,
go.
neither have I. I really want to go.
I heard it was dope though.
Abdul, what are we drinking tonight?
Water. What do you mean? I'm playing. Man, I'm definitely hitting some crowns tonight. I ain't gonna lie. I needed it.
Mm.
There's been a lot going on. I've been busy, super busy. So I need my crowd tonight.
I got you.
I'm gonna do wine next time. I'm gonna switch it up though. But definitely doing crowns tonight.
You said you're gonna do wine?
Next time I'm gonna do some wine.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm trying to be a little more healthier in my drink choice because I'm working on it. I love whiskey though. I can't lie. I love it. I do love whiskey.
I know.
What's your go-to wine? What do you drink?
Well, I like red wine more than white. And actually, my sake cups are somewhere in a box. This is actually sake.
Oh, that's sake? Okay.
Yeah, that's sake. So, my go-to wine... Yeah, it's cold.
It's cold? I've never had it cold before.
Yeah.
I've only ever had it hot sake. I've only had hot sake.
Okay. Yeah, I typically like red wine, blends, Malbec, Syrah. Lately, I've really been on Pinot. Like some straight, pure Pinot Noirs from France, and they've been excellent. And then some like Zinfandels from California, those have been really excellent as well. And then you told me about you trying to go to California. You might have to take me and Stephanie with you because we're trying to go to Napa. So
hey, Look, I told you I'm about to take a week and I'm just gonna travel all up and down the coast. I'm gonna just go do whatever. So it's definitely about to happen.
Yes,
Yeah, I went to the Locks. That was a long time ago though. How you doing, Ro?
great one last week. Let's see, Malbec is my
Felino.
favorite, and there's one I highly recommend, Felino. Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that one.
Yeah, I never had that before.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that one. If you can screenshot a picture of the label, DM it to us so we can take a look at it. Don't have us going into the wine store looking crazy.
It's probably something we can't get at the regular wine stores.
I know.
We gotta
Don't be
import
having us look crazy. Listen.
it. We got to import it in.
Okay,
Ready?
ready.
Ready to roll.
All right, you guys. So, good evening and welcome back. We are on episode 15. Oh my God, 15 of On the Spectrum tonight, talking about the dark feminine.
The dark side.
Hopefully, I like my little comic voice. Anyway, so I thought this was a very interesting topic to get into because if you guys have been watching us for a while, we featured the beautiful Rabia Elahi and we talked about the divine feminine, which was really great, dope conversation. But I feel it's also important to acknowledge the opposite of the divine feminine, which is the dark feminine, or in her words, the wounded feminine.
Yeah.
So tonight we're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to define what it is. We're going to touch base on divine feminine energy again, the fact that it is in all of us, and we're going to touch on how dark feminine energy has changed society, molded society, kind of ruined it maybe. And then we'd like to hear from you guys. We don't have a special guest tonight, so we want to hear from you and interact with you on your experience with dark feminine, your thoughts on it, and some of your interactions with people in various chapters of your life. So,
Yeah. I want to hear. We want to hear. We want to hear.
yes, we do. We do, you guys. So, getting started, Abdul, in order to understand what dark feminine energy is, we must first define divine feminine energy. So in your words, what would you say that is?
I would say positivity, nurturing, maternal is a good word, sensual, sexual in a positive way, and we'll get into that. Is not a victim. That's a good way to explain it. Optimistic, creative. I would say those are some good keywords to throw out there as to what the
Beautiful.
and are.
And so let's kind of touch on the good side of the divine feminine being sexual in a good way.
Okay.
How would you kind of describe healthy sexuality?
Right. I don't know how to explain it without talking about the negative aspect of it, but and I can only explain this from a male's perspective. So let that be a note before I speak. I'll preface it by saying that a woman that doesn't use her sexuality doesn't manipulate with sexuality. I think that's a good way to explain it. Somebody who understands a woman who is sexual and respects herself in that manner. I'm not talking about not throwing yourself out there, but again, the best way to describe it is just not manipulating others with your sexuality. Because and I can only use it from a male's perspective. Men we're sexual by nature. Everything's physical, a physical view for us. And so if you don't use your sexuality to persuade people, even females, I think that's a good way to kind of describe what a healthy sexual woman looks like.
Do you feel that men are more manipulated by sex now versus, let's just say, 40, 50 years ago?
Yeah, that's a good question. Manipulated. I think so, which is surprising because sex is more readily available nowadays. Like you have the internet, and pornography is huge nowadays. So it's not like you can't get enough of it. We have dating sites nowadays. There's, there's I forgot what they're called, but the back pages where if you needed to go buy it, you could. Like we're in a we're in a more free society where those things are a little bit more acceptable. Our
And do
men,
how you know about Backpage?
hey, look, I've never paid for it. I'm just going. That has never been me. It ain't happened. Let's not go there. But now I would say men have, and I'll speak for the men. And I know in another episode we're going to talk about the dark side of the masculine as well. But I know men have kind of lost their way, and so we are more easily manipulated nowadays due to our I'll just call it our weaknesses nowadays. So I guess we can be persuaded a little bit more sexually. And again, it's just so odd because we do have access to it more than we have in the past. But yes, we are persuaded by it.
I'm gonna I agree, but I also disagree at the same time because I feel one of the biggest differences is just the exposure that you guys have to a new world and variety of women.
Okay.
But I feel that men have always been manipulated by sex. I mean, there was a whole generation, and I'm just going to put even my father, rest in peace, on the line. Papa was a Rolling Stone. How many people in the chat do y'all know whose daddy was a Rolling Stone and had multiple children with multiple women?
Mm-hmm.
Some of them maybe just hit it better. Maybe side chicks, knew their place a little bit more. So I see the hearts blowing up. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So I don't know if I fully agree with that. I think that men have always been more easily manipulated. It's just we live in a day and age now where you can get deals and books and all this other shit for snitching and exposing men.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree with you on that. Yeah, I would say of the past societies who, man, what ancient was it? Rome society that fell because of a woman. I can't remember the name of it. Was it Helen of Troy? I think it was.
Helen of Troy, yeah.
You brought
You
down
talking about
yeah.
what's his name?
Yeah, and so yes, we have always been manipulated by women by their sexuality. Okay, I'll agree with you on that one. We can go there. I agree with that one.
Okay. Well, the term of dark feminine energy, also going along with toxic masculinity, these terms are gaining a lot of popularity in modern society.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
I think people are tired of being mistreated, and I think everybody wants some accountability. Although we don't likely do it to ourselves often. I often say we're great lawyers for ourselves, but not the best judges for ourselves. So I think everybody's kind of tired of the lack of accountability, and so and let's just be honest, I think this society is very much patriarchal, and so and there's a toxic side to that, which has caused wars, etc. And we'll get into that, but for the most part, I think everybody's just kind of tired of what's been happening, and we want to be a little bit more accountable. So I agree with that.
So as far as trying to define some of the character traits of dark feminine energy, what adjectives would you use for that?
Oh man, that's tough. I would say one that does manipulate via sexuality. That's definitely one. Manipulative in nature, right? Not just using sexuality. Let's see. I would say one that's extremely argumentative, and again, speaking from a male's perspective, uncooperative. I would say that's one. I would definitely say.
It sounds like you're calling out specific people, but we're just gonna keep it moving, sir.
No. Look, I can only speak from a male's perspective, and I know men, yes, that's a good one, Lex, messy. Women are very gossipy, on the dark side of it. But again, speaking from a male's perspective, I know that one thing that I know is a negative when it comes to the male female bond is their inability to be cooperative, right? I
Mhm.
think that
A good one.
I think women today have been, and as they should, are uplifted more nowadays, and I think that that's needed. They have been oppressed for a very long time, but I
Mhm.
also think that there is a lack of responsibility with what's been given, with the power, for lack of better terms, that they've been given, and I see their inability to cooperate when it comes to male female relationships, hell, and even on a grand scale, right? Even in a political sense, I see their inability to cooperate, and we won't get into all that, but mainly I think that yeah, there are some negative characteristics. Plays with desire is a good one. So those are some good points to start with.
Absolutely. I would like to add maybe more devilish,
Mhm.
liberal to the point that there are no boundaries. You
Yeah.
have like no moral boundaries. I feel that definitely steers off into the more negative side.
Mhm.
Playing with desire, no matter the cost.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure some of you in the chat could agree that either yourself at one point or you know someone that has taken things just way too far
Yeah.
for, in essence, just pleasure.
Yeah.
Just something extremely selfish on a basic primal level.
Right.
Um, and since we did mention like dark sexuality, I would definitely say in modern day society, the Jezebel spirit, for those, that have any type of Christian background, the
Mm.
Jezebel spirit, the very promiscuous, overly sexual nature in us that again doesn't have discipline, doesn't have control. I think that's a huge component of it as well. And I
Well,
like, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask you a question. Okay, so I think everybody is, not everybody, but a good portion of people are familiar with, and I'm just going to use him because he's a pivotal person right now. Kevin Samuels, right? We all can agree that he has a bit of flair to what he's trying to do to kind of grab attention to people. Um, Very misogynistic in his approach, but I think that we can talk about. There are some points that he does hit on that are fair. What are your thoughts on some of the points, the talking points that he brings to light nowadays? What are your feelings and thoughts on
Uh, I have mixed feelings about Perfume Samuels.
it?
Um, I feel that definitely when I first started seeing his content some time ago, he definitely does make a lot of valid points,
Okay.
especially about how Black culture has changed ever since the Black woman decided we don't need our man.
Hmm.
We want to push our man out, invite the government in, seeking approval from, Zaddy and everyone else but our own man,
Okay.
and how the entitlement and the ego just has super inflated, especially when education comes into it.
Well, let's talk about this one point that I hear constantly nowadays, because it
Mhm.
just doesn't feel right. I may be wrong, and that's fine. I'll accept that. But let's talk about this talking point, and I'm just gonna say it because everybody else says it. A boss bitch. Can we can we talk about that a little bit? Like,
Well, I don't call myself a boss bitch, but
no.
men, y'all tell me in the chat room, men, do you know a boss bitch? Let's talk about it. Men.
Well, I like. All right. What is that? What is it? Like, what are we touting with that? What is the banner with it? Like, explain it to me.
So I feel like what women are trying to say is that they have achieved maybe some of them for the first time in their family line. I mean, a lot of us, especially our generation, we're the first ones to go to college, first ones to get degrees or PhDs, and we're the first ones to get high paying jobs as women. Some of us are the first ones to start a business
Okay.
that maybe have nothing to do with a man.
Okay.
Um, So
Okay.
I think the term originally started as kind of self-praise
Okay.
for accomplishing something that maybe hadn't been done before and feeling like on top of the world. It's just the problem with it is that the narcissism takes over, and now we're over here propping ourselves up for things that, in the grand scheme of things, it couldn't run the world if all the men left. And that's the problem.
Okay.
Because it's like, okay, I'm just saying, for example, you say you're a
Yeah.
boss bitch, but you sell waist beads. You sell flat tummy tea, aka poopy tea. This is not boss bitch moves. These are not things that make the world keep going around. These are not, this isn't real estate. This isn't investment stocks. This isn't, I don't know. It's like
Right.
not even nonprofits or some type of humanitarian thing. A lot of the times it's like smaller things that I feel like women should be just a little more humble about.
Mm. Okay.
Personally, ladies, don't throw tomatoes at me in the chat, please.
Okay. And so you know my thoughts and my feelings on this. I've had this conversation a lot lately, as a matter of fact. Um, my thoughts on capitalism, right? I 100% feel that capitalism is the bane of our existence as Black people. We tout the very oppressive system that keeps us where we're at, right? We're the I say this often. I feel like we're the best Republicans there are because we tout getting the money, we tout getting the the generational wealth and all this other stuff, and ultimately at the end of the day, from my experience and from my research, there is a huge inability for us to ever catch up or close that wealth gap. Now, I'm not trying to be negative when I say that, but that's the truth, right? And so all it comes down to is we're all just trying to make sure that our single families are okay. That's our goal, instead of ensuring an entire community is okay. So without going down the rabbit hole too much, there's just this, it just doesn't work to tout that you're gaining any type of steps or notoriety within capitalism when it just doesn't do anything for you or your family, especially as a woman, Because at the end of the day, capitalism is ran by men, white men at that. And your allegiance is to that, which ends up being a white man. And so it bothers me, especially in the Black community, that women are so hard pressed on getting that. Granted, we have families to take care of. I totally understand that. But if the end goal could be, hey, let's come together, find a way to build and have quote unquote success within this system, only to tear it down, I'm game for that. I'm a rebel by nature. That seems more appealing to me than the same cycle, the same rat race, which is just to get in, to stay in. That doesn't do anything. So the rhetoric of boss babe and or whatever even dudes say in that regard irritates me like, to no end. Like there's a full inability for them to understand that just irks me. So
Well, I have mixed. I feel like I understand what you're trying to say. I don't believe that capitalism is 100% like the devil, because capitalism has allowed us to create and cultivate these lives that we're doing right now. It's capitalism that has allowed us to go purchase investment property while still working jobs. It's capitalism that's giving us the money to be able to invest in all these other things. So I don't know, like,
so here's the deal, right? As an example, capitalism will always function with an oppressed state. If you are truly a humanitarian, what capitalism does is it gets you to eradicate your humanitarianism. It puts you at the forefront of making sure that you're okay. You get it by any means. Pardon my French, but fuck the guy to the left and the right of you and behind you, which deteriorates community, which deteriorates family. Because if I have to get it by any means includes over my brother, my sister, my mom, my dad, my children if need be, and it creates this dog eat dog mentality that just destroys who I feel Black people are as a whole, which is we're community, we're family, we take care of one another. So yes, it affords some people a better life, but in the grand scheme of it, as a whole, we lose our ability to care for one another because I got to get it by any means, and that's even over you. So I understand what it does. There will always be a few that trickle out. There will always be a few that have success, that gain a certain amount of money. But what about the whole? Like, who are we as people if we stop caring about one another? We then lose our humanity and we become animals. And that's the part that I can't rectify within myself, which is why I dislike capitalism.
Well, you know what we can do?
What's that?
We can be the change.
Yes.
People
And
like
so,
you, people like me, people like Soul, my cousin, all these people in Derek in the chat room.
right.
We can play this American game of capitalism without slicing our brother and sister to the left or right. We don't have to be crabs in the bucket. We can take that step up, you know, and we can turn back around, reach down, and pull the next person up. Now, can we save every single person? No, we can't. We can't save everybody. Everyone's soul on a spiritual level, everyone's soul is not going to be saved in this lifetime. I know that. But, you know, does that mean F capitalism altogether and not try? No, it means play the game. Let's get what we need to get out of it in some hybrid version. And then let's help the people that we can. The people that want to help themselves, let's help them out too. So
Well,
maybe that selfishness also stems going back into it, into the dark feminine
yes.
energy.
Yes, it does, right? And I think
Yeah.
everything kind of, because we're so economy based here, right? I think everything filters itself back into that. I'm
Mhm.
with you. It's a great idea and it's a great concept. It's utopian in the way that we express it. The problem
Mhm.
is that's not how capitalism functions. For going on millenniums now, we all, or we'll see ourselves reach 100 years, centuries, and saying, all right, let's help out so and so to the left of us. Let's help out so and so to the right of us. But that's just not how it works. You can't. It's the entire system as a whole that's broken. We don't have to believe in it. We can function in it. In my opinion, let's function in it to tear it down. But to believe in it, to believe that we can get to where we need to and try to reach back down to pull people up, it's impossible. There's no way. Again, those numbers. I sat down and I did those numbers one day. Let's just talk about race for a second with regards to the wealth gap, right? The wealth
Mhm.
gap is some trillions of dollars. If white folks stop making money today for the next 1,000 years and we made money, and I'm talking about black folks started earning six figures, it would take us 1,000 years to close that wealth gap. That is a system that's set up against you that you cannot win. You are not going to win it because white folks ain't just going to stop making money. That ain't about to happen. So what do? I say, man, look, let's tear this motherfucker down. Let's eradicate this shit. Let's have conversations with our people and say, yo, this ain't for us. This is not anything that's going to help us. It never has helped us, and it's not going to help us. So let's tear this motherfucker down. I'm game for that. I'm cool with watching the burning house burn. Let's burn that bitch. Let's do
Mhm.
it. And what comes out after that, I'm open to that idea. What does that look like? I think that looks like us
Mhm.
truly caring about one another, true humanitarianism, true
Mhm.
humanity on the inside. Yo, like, I'm not trying to get it, I'm going to help you. Like, if I have this skill set to go hunt and you have a skill set to cook, let's work together. But
Mhm.
that concept right there doesn't work within capitalism. It's, I got to have this skill set, then I have to learn yours to do better than you to make this money more over you. All with the idea of trying to help the people below us, but it just doesn't work. It hasn't worked. So that's why I say it's the bane of our existence and it needs to go. It needs to be eradicated, in my opinion.
Hmm.
We get off my
Okay.
soapbox.
Okay. No, you good. You good.
But to bring all this back around, I think that lends to what dark feminine and even toxic masculinity is today. I think that inability to have true humanity within yourself, to care about another person, is what makes the dark feminine and the toxic masculinity ever present today. I think
Mm,
that's what gives it. I think that's what feeds it. Is this need to be on top, right? You got to be the baddest B word, the baddest babe, you know, or the sharpest dude with the best car, dressing with the nice clothes, right?
mm,
Got to
mm.
be the most fit. That's it's bullshit. It doesn't work. Like it's not. I have skill sets that you don't have. You have skill sets I don't have. How
Mm.
can we work together? So all that leads to the dark feminine and then the toxic masculinity, in my opinion.
There was a comment earlier in the chat. I don't know, I forgot who said it, but they said that some of these traits of dark feminine seem to be gender neutral. And I'm actually glad this person mentioned that
Mm,
because just like Rabia Elahi was saying, the dark feminine isn't all of us, just like dark masculine isn't all of us. You know, you have the yin and the yang. So all of us have these attributes inside of us, but it's your character development, it's your spirituality, it's your, you know, your psychological strength. All of these things contribute to how you conquer that and how you conduct yourself in the world, right?
mm,
So when you think about like dark feminine energy and the root of it, a thought I had was maybe this energy stems from, like you said, patriarchy and the masculine need to conquer everything.
okay.
Maybe that kind of leads into the whole boss bee thing. Because men came along, we conquered, like men conquered, pillaged, raped, divided, oppressed.
Right.
So maybe to rise up, females felt like they had to start adopting some of these traits, but this was a feminine expression
Right.
of in the modern world of the conquering, pillaging, raping. Maybe we became more abusive, psychologically manipulative, and these kind of things.
Yes. Yes.
So
Have
yeah.
you man, I just saw somebody talk about it the other day. There's a book, what is it, 48 Laws of Power, I think it is. I don't know if you've heard of it. Have you heard of that book?
40 laws of power.
48, or I can't remember the number. I don't know. But some laws, it's a number of laws of power. I can't remember. But anyways, I've read a good portion of the book. It's very patriarchal,
Mm-hmm.
very white supremacist. Like as an example, one of the laws was, um, I'm paraphrasing here, forgive me, but it's like uh, manipulate when you have to. Like that was the ideology of it, right? And in my opinion, to your point, yeah, women adapted that ideology. They took on the ideology of I gotta win by any means necessary, and so that's where that came from. And so using sexuality, manipulating, uh, all the points that we talked about as far as dark feminine is concerned, messy, being too clingy, right? Like in a negative way, like that. All of those things led to the dark feminine, and it's ever present today. So, um, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about some of the ways that dark feminine energy can wreak havoc in society and to our loved ones if left unchecked. So I'll start off with women engaging in psychological abuse because many of us cannot physically overpower what we want. So women
Yeah.
learn very early on in life to psychologically manipulate. So some
Yeah.
of those ways, you know, abusing, isolating our partners. Maybe someone in the chat has dealt with that. A woman that started slowly isolating you away
Yep.
from your family and friends.
That's happened
Maybe
to me.
isolating children.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's happened to me. I think men struggle today with leading and that's what I'm looking for, acquiescing. Like I think that there's a big struggle there with men because we don't know when to lead or even how to lead nowadays, and when to acquiesce, when to allow the feminine to be, right? Like I think that we struggle with that. Um, I know I did personally, and I think at times when I was trying to acquiesce and I was attempting to, uh, you know, drop my masculine energy, she took advantage of it, right? And again, to the point, the win at all costs, that subconscious kicked in. Uh, she saw it as a weakness, and exploited it to a degree, just within the relationship, of course. But that has been my experience, and I've had conversations with other men. And so men walk this thin line of trying to figure out, because we're all on social media. We're all subconsciously programmed to say, hey, like, love your woman, take care of your woman, communicate with your woman, be open with your woman. And we all want to do that. But there's this part of us that is a little insecure, because it's like, yo, if I do that, she gonna walk all over me. She's gonna feel as if I'm weak in the way that I think and behave and even lead. Will she follow me if I try to lead? Like, there's a lot of these, men juggle this to try to understand, what do I do with this modern woman? It's very much a paradigm we don't really understand completely.
Very interesting. What do you feel about checking your partner's mobile phone? As another.
You talking about that being a dark feminine?
Yeah, the controlling, possessiveness, manipulating.
Yeah, that can go both ways, though. That's very.
Have you had experience with that, Abdul?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, okay, so I'll tell the story, right? And it wasn't even so much that, like, I didn't get caught talking to anybody because I wasn't doing that. This is what she saw. She saw me communicating with my mom, and it was like, as an example, let's say I was frustrated with some, like, when I talk to my mom, we're cool, like, we just have that relationship. I was communicating with my mom, and I was like, yo, so-and-so, like, really pissing me off today, like, I don't know what's his problem, like, just communicating with my mom, right? She went through my phone, saw that, and felt as if I was a mama's boy, or I was incapable of making my own decision. It was like, yo, I'm just talking to my mom's family. Like, what? Like, and that was perplexing to me. Like, I didn't understand that. It was like, how am I less able to lead because I talked to my mom about a frustrating day? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So that, when she went through my phone, is what happened. It was weird. I didn't really understand that, but.
Well, yeah. Jesus, Abdul.
I had some funny relationships, man. I promise.
I see. Another two that I put down, that definitely are a negative expression of feminine energy, popping up, just trying to like surprise him, but like popping up at your job.
Yeah.
I know lots of women that have done that.
Well, look, if you trying to like, trying to just, you know what I'm saying, you trying to have sex in the truck, like, I'm cool with that. I'm on lunch break, I'm game for that. Yeah. I mean, look, if that's what you're trying to do for lunch break, I'm game for that. We can do that. You know what I mean? I'm open for that. I feel like that's healthy.
Nobody was talking about popping up.
Oh man, that's good.
Or doing that little thing in the car. Nobody was talking about that, sir. Only your little freaky butt. Man, do not laugh at this. Do not laugh at this, man. Don't encourage that.
Seriously though, look, if you just try to look, I like, that's healthy in a relationship. But if you try to pop up to catch me doing something, or you just want to be around me like that,
exactly, uninvited.
Yes, uninvited. Yes, that's an issue. That's an issue.
I'm gonna mail this to you.
Hey, kudos to the women that show up at your mid job for a little lunchtime fun. I'm game for that. Let's do that.
Moving. Men, y'all are a mess in the chat. So actually, I actually wanted to mention one more part, and then I want to open up the lines and chat with you guys as well.
Yeah.
Another part of the dark feminine that is kind of in the closet and not really covered enough is female pedophilia. Women sexually abusing people, and not just children, but grown adult men and
Yeah,
even maybe other family members and stuff like that, I say that's definitely another part of it as well.
I will say I've had some corporate jobs, and women can be a lot more touchy feely than men at the workplace. They're allowed that per se. It's just a little more accepted. Um, but I can see that definitely being an issue.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. But yes, and I noticed now it seems to be popping up more with these like news cases with teachers messing around with their students and stuff. But if I'm not mistaken, guys have been telling me this has been going on forever.
Yeah,
So
look,
it's very bizarre that it's just now starting to get more media coverage in the news. But men have told me they've always known about them freaky teachers, especially I think around like the sixth to eighth grade
hey,
mark.
look. In high
I
school,
just, well, if you about to tell me that you have an experience too, listen, we just
I
gonna
do, man. Like,
suffocate
look,
you with this pillow
it's
and be done,
yo,
sir.
look. It happened in high school. It happened, man.
You are lying.
Yeah, nah, we had it. We had a teacher in high school that, yeah, yeah.
We had a teacher, or you had a teacher, Abdul.
Well, it wasn't just me. That's the
Ah, we
thing.
opening up the call lines. Y'all need to call in and talk to us. We want to hear
Oh
your
man,
experience. We want to hear about your experience with dark female nature, and also like your thoughts on the definition, how it should be defined, how it should not be defined. Did we get something wrong in talking about it? We want to hear from you guys.
yeah.
So please drop an
Men,
emoji.
yo, men, chime in. Come on, fam. This is
Yes.
y'all's
So
opportunity to talk about it. Let's go, man. Where the fellas
yes,
at? Jeez, this is your
drop
opportunity.
a emoji in the chat if you want to hop in and share something.
Yeah, yeah,
In the
yeah.
meantime, I'm reading some of these comments.
Yeah, go for
Joker. Hey, Joker. He said, go get your pillow, Abdul.
it. Oh man.
H-Town Ronan says lunchtime quickie. Nyla admits this is not talked about. I'm assuming you agree with me on the female pedophilia for sure. Um, Marchatza, she said lots of teacher stories in the media. These teachers scare me. Me too, boo. Me too. Joker came back again and said the Me Too movement fires both ways. Fior Bianca says that's the rise of social media. Before Facebook and Twitter, people knew how to keep their dang on mouth shut. That's true. That's true. Yeah.
I wanna ask you a question, and this could kind of lead to one of the points that we talked about. How do you feel about drama queens?
Drama queens. Well, I have told you this before. The number one currency of women
Yeah,
is attention.
attention. Mm.
And that is one of the ugly truths
Yeah,
of female nature is that some women, we will put attention over everything. We will put attention over our family, over our children, over our marriage, over our career.
mm.
To get attention, we will do everything. But to answer your question, yeah, this stems into being a drama queen, just wanting that 15 seconds of fame, just wanting all eyes on you and all the reactions and shit. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I've had this conversation before, right? And I don't. I'm not telling. I don't feel that they shouldn't, but like as an example, I think I stopped going out and being in the club scene
Mhm.
probably early years, like at college, and then I just kind of stopped, right? But I noticed obviously that women continued this and they would do it. I didn't understand why. Was it just for attention? Like they would go out just for attention? You ain't talking to no dude. You're not gonna give anybody your number. Was it?
Mhm.
Is it really just for attention? You're trying to get somebody's look. Like what's the purpose? I really want to know. Curious. And don't be wrong. I know everybody wants to go out sometimes, just have a good time.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, I definitely felt like it's for attention.
Maybe I was always awkward. So I don't know. I was never like that cool chick that would go to the clubs and be cool and I know all the dances and stuff. I'm naturally more introvert, so I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe it's like just stimulating like just the desire to be sexual or feminine, to
Okay.
feel sensual, to feel like you're being seen and to feel like for this moment there's no work, no responsibilities, maybe you can just be free.
Okay.
So,
All right. All
but
right.
don't ask my awkward ass. I'm the wrong one to ask.
Okay, I
We
want to
do
ask
have
one
one
more.
person that wanted to join. We do have one person.
Okay, I'm sorry. Who was it? Who wanted to join?
Catherine.
Who?
Catherine Puentes.
Okay. Let me see if I can find them. Okay. Well,
Yes.
send a request, and we'll get you
Send
in.
your request, Catherine, so we can let you in.
Yeah. Okay, I want to ask one more, and I feel like this lies along the dark feminine lines.
Okay.
What about faking orgasms?
Oh,
Jenny, we want to talk about that.
okay.
I really want to know. I genuinely want to know. Is that a
Uh,
thing? Like,
I don't really know. Hey,
Hi.
how you doing?
hello.
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're good.
Doing
We're
wonderful.
good.
We will come back to that, Abdul.
Well, we can
And
ask her.
how
We
do
can
we,
ask her. That's a great question.
okay, how do we say your name, Mama?
It's Catherine.
Catherine.
Yeah.
All right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Pleasure to meet you. So share with us your thoughts. What do you have to say on tonight's topic?
Well, I think for me it's just double-sided. So like I do think a lot of this goes for male and females as well. I don't think it's just like I think that feminine energy is gonna be in a male just like it's gonna be in a female. So it's both-sided. And I'm also because I guess of my background, I do notice that a lot of behaviors that do come out, it's mainly because of someone's background. So whether they've been through any kind of trauma or anything with their family, and it goes through generations. So it's not just with that one person. It kind of spreads out like a root system.
I like that.
Mm,
I think generational trauma is definitely something. We talked about that. We talked about it with Rabia, right? I think it was.
yes, we did.
Yeah, we did talk about that. But yes, that's
We talked
definitely.
about it. We talked about it with Soul too.
We did. We did.
Mhm.
We do understand that, for lack of better terms, you got to get that stuff healed, and a lot of this does come out.
I think it goes for men too.
Yes, and it's
Yeah.
true. We do, and we're gonna get to that. We're gonna have a toxic masculinity.
Well,
You know,
I'll be there.
we talk about the women tonight, though. I'm just kidding.
So can you share with us a time in your life where maybe you were operating out of a more negative or dark space? Would you mind sharing with us a story?
Definitely. I guess so I'm a mental health therapist and I kind of like see a lot of clients, but my background is with trauma. So I've also experienced trauma too in my childhood and also in school. So there are a lot of dark moments where you have to figure out how to maneuver. Like, do you kind of engage with the person? Do you kind of just go with the flow with it? Or do you step back from it and say, okay, is this really where I want to go? Because once you go there, it's like you're crossing a line, a boundary, and there's no stepping back from that boundary.
Right.
Okay.
I like that.
Okay. That makes
What
sense.
you want to say, Abdul? You seem like you wanted to say something.
No. I agreed. I don't have an issue with that. That makes sense.
Okay. And so you would say in your clinical experience that when you see a lot of people behaving in a certain way, it usually always stems back to trauma. You would say that?
It's coming from somewhere. So if it's not specifically trauma where they're being triggered, it's coming either from patterns within their family, generational, it's between the systems that they interact with, whether it's at work, employment, or from school, or their community and their neighborhood. So it's not just the family, but there's so many different systems, kind of like an onion. So like there's so many different layers of where someone could be getting something from.
Okay. So I hate to do this. I'm gonna do this though. So I think we all understand that a lot of our bad behaviors normally they tend to come from trauma, right? Stuff we experienced in childhood mainly, but even past relationships, etc. I'm game for that. What I don't want to do though is I don't want to take away accountability here to
Correct.
ensure that we address. Yes, trauma happens, but what needs to happen, and I've always felt this way. The first thing you need to do to correct the problem is recognize it.
Yeah.
Recognize you have a problem, right? And then you can go from there. So outside of addressing, yes, we all have childhood trauma, we don't want to shift the focus away from saying, hey, all right, cool, yeah, you got childhood trauma, but you're doing some fucked up shit. So we need to address that, right? So to the points that we talked about, right? Vic, you had them listed. I apologize, I forgot them. But the devilish ways that they, not say devilish, but that was one of the terms that we put down there. Plays with desire, etc. If you could, the point of play with desire, what can a woman do to correct that behavior?
I think it comes a lot of with internal growth and wanting to change. So if there isn't a desire to want to change a pattern that they're constantly doing, then it's not going to go anywhere. Now, if they do want to change and kind of correct that pattern, then it comes to realizing how often that pattern is being projected out. So whether it's in their own relationships or at work, how often they're doing it, to be able to minimize that a little bit, to step back and to say, okay, before I do this, because I've done this before, what needs to happen for me? So that other person's not going to be able to help them with that change. They have to do it for themselves.
Yeah, I agree with that. That makes a lot of sense. Okay.
I actually have one more question before we let you go. Do you feel that it's important for us to embrace both sides? Do you feel that to operate in today's world, we need to kind of play with divine and darkness?
Yes, there needs to be an understanding of both. It can't just be one-sided. You can't just have all of one thing and kind of ignore the other part. So it's being able to accept both sides of yourself in order to grow. If you don't accept both sides, then there is no going forward.
Right.
I love that. I love that.
So let me ask one more question before you go. So as an example, you're in a relationship, right? I'm going to speak from a male's perspective. I'm a man, and I have a woman who is expressing some dark feminine energy here, right? Some things she's doing that I'm not happy about. She doesn't want to address her issues. She blames everything on men, redirects focus back to men. How do you deal with a woman like that? What would one do if you're giving advice to a man?
Well, I think it comes down to communication. So if there is no communication and it's one-sided, is that a relationship that's healthy for you mentally to be in? And it's having that conversation with that other individual, with that partner, to be able to come to a common ground. If that common ground isn't communicated, then how far is the relationship going to go if it's only one-sided? So there has to be change from both sides in a relationship in order for that relationship to go forward.
Okay. And I'm a talk from a man's perspective for a second. Forgive me again. I'm doing it again. This is what I've noticed in a lot of conversations with men. They feel there's a huge inability for the modern woman to accept accountability, to take accountability for things. Do you feel that's a thing?
I think it does come from both sides from my experience, but I did see it a lot growing up where women did not want to take accountability, because it is hard, because taking accountability means that you messed up somewhere, and it's very hard to own up to mess ups. Right. So, and again, that comes deeper into the root system, but to take accountability is very hard for anyone to do in any relationship and individually, because society kind of puts us as it's a fault, that there's something flawed with you because you made that mistake. And that's why we don't own up to it, because we think we might be flawed.
Fair. I'll be honest though. So as an example, I'm in sports, right? I've been in sports my entire life. If I'm with my teammates, if they fuck up, I tell you, yo, you fucked up, and we're good. We can handle it. We're good. Or in business, yo, you fucked up, and we're good. We can handle it. Men say that they don't experience that as much with women. Granted, from your experience, you deal with this, but they just really do feel like that's not a thing with women. They do not accept accountability in the workplace and relationships, friendships, platonic friendships, whatnot. There's a deep fear there. Do you think that there's something that leads to that? Granted, I understand we all have our childhood stuff, but
Yeah.
could you speak on the macro?
Well, I think it does depend on like how you grow up in a sense. Like, okay, I have a sports background. It's taekwondo. So I'm always surrounded more majority with males than females. So them owning up is also me owning up. And you get that a lot and you see that it's common to do. So you're like, okay, I'm going to do it too. And you're in a safe place kind of to do that.
Okay.
Compared to going, let's say, from a sports aspect to school, owning up to something in, let's say, a high school would be a little bit different, especially surrounding other females that don't have that same connection of owning up.
Okay. Okay.
So it really depends on how you connect with them, if it's even a relationship you want to connect with, if it's worth it, if it's going to harm you in any way. So there's just so many components of what it means to own up, especially to a person that might hold you accountable or kind of give you that guilt trip every single time because of that mistake.
Okay. Whitney she posted something and it was good. I actually brought a question. Okay, so you have to have that conversation in a different way with women.
Yeah.
What is that different way? Like, what does that look like? So for the men out there, so we can understand, right? Because again, if I go to a dude and I'm like, my nigga, you fucked up, bro. Like you did some fucked up shit, and he'd be like, all right, my bad, dog. You right. That's how we communicate. How should a man have that conversation with a woman to let her know, to ask her to accept accountability, and at the same time kind of hold your ground? How do you do that? How should a man do that?
I think it's mainly coming from how it impacted you as a person because of their mess up. Instead of, hey, you did something wrong, this is your fault, this is blah, blah, blah. This is how this action made me feel at that moment. This is what it's doing to the relationship. This is what I'm noticing. So it's not coming from like a pointing the fingers kind of stance. It's coming from, you're affecting me in this way.
Yes. Okay.
I like that. And I like how the overlapping
a lot of translation there.
But I do like how the overlapping theme goes with even discussing dark feminine tonight is accountability. About to address the darkness within us, we must first be willing to be accountable for who we are and where we are in this moment.
Yeah.
Not who we want to be later, not who we're going to be after, some therapy, like who we are right now. And you're right. And in the chat room, I'm noticing there are a couple of guys, I saw Derek say it, when women are around a lot more men, we tend to own up to our problems easier than if you're in a melting pot of just women. Which I can agree with that. I think women, we tend to enable a lot of buffoonery in each other. We do. Now we can call each other out. If it's a real friendship, we can call each other out. But you'll notice a lot of groups of women, if it's not really a close friendship, it'll just be a bunch of parrots. They're just enabling each other's nonsense all the time. And I know you've seen it.
Yeah, I definitely think you said it correctly, because it's if that person really matters to you and it's a good friendship, it's easy to call it out and say, hey, this is like, that's just not okay. But then to be able to be accountable is, if they're not being accountable, where do they feel safety wise? If they're not safe enough to be very straightforward in the relationship, then where does that say the relationship is?
Okay,
it's a great question.
Hold on. All right. I'm gonna tell you what I feel.
You tell me.
All right. A lot of this, right? So when we approach these situations with men, it's very direct, and it's accept accountability, change, move on, right? And men do 9 times out of 10. I'm speaking from my experience, so this is anecdotal. I'm sorry, but it is. But when I'm dealing with men, it's all right, I got it, I fucked up, boom. Even in this conversation, when we're talking about accountability for women or things that they could possibly correct or move in a better direction with, there's like this small asterisk that says, well, if a man acts this way, then I'll do this, or if he does this, then I'll do this. And it's like, hold up. It still
So you
feels
mean
like
con-
you're
so
pushing
you mean like
accountability.
conditional change,
Right.
which
It
is
still
not.
feels like you're pushing accountability on a man. And so I feel a lot of that in society nowadays where it's like, all right, and I've seen this post before, we've talked about this. When a woman feels secure and a man is truly masculine, then she can be her feminine self. And I'm like, that's bullshit. Like,
Yeah.
be you regardless, and you'll meet your match. But I don't feel like that has to be like Vicky said, conditioned on what I do and who I am. I just feel like that's lacking accountability, like we're talking about right now. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just how I feel.
No, you are right, because it definitely comes from still that person. So that accountability isn't because of how the other person is reacting, but there is also that fine line of anything in the past that happened in that relationship of how that person reacts. So there are two sides of, do I communicate this if I know that it's going to blow up, or do I communicate this because I know that they might manipulate me owning up to it, or do I own up to it and then it's a good relationship where you feel safe enough to own up to it? So it goes both ways for males and females. Males owning up to something, and then a female holding it every day of the week saying, oh, remember that time you did this? Remember that time you did that? That's probably not a good, safe way to own up, because then you don't want to own up next time.
All right. I want you to stick around for when we have this masculine conversation. Because I want everybody to really take note on how men will behave when this accountability for us comes down.
Yeah.
Very little will we say, yo, if a woman does this, I'll do this. If a woman acts like this, or if this happened in a relationship, I'll do this. Very majority of the time, a man is going to be like, all right, I'll change that. I will correct that. I'll do what I need to get head in the right direction. I want you to be around for that one. We're gonna talk about that one.
Thank you so much for hopping in and sharing your piece with us. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you guys for having me. Have a good night.
All right. You too, Foodie. You guys drop some hearts in the chat for lovely Catherine. And y'all don't piss her off. You heard what she does.
Yeah, Taekwondo.
I know. You heard what she does.
All right, we have
one more person.
We have some.
Lex said she wanted to join.
Yeah, let's okay. Actually, we're gonna bring, if we could get Miss Catherine out. Just close your whole thing, Miss Catherine, if you can. Close the whole IG thing. I'm gonna let two people in. I'm gonna let Derek in and Lex in at the same time.
Okay. Let's do it.
We just gotta work on. Okay, cool. Boom.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Derek and Lex, join us.
Yeah, thank you. There go Derek.
Sorry.
All right.
Hey.
It's a foursome in here. We've never done this before. We did do this. I'm tripping. We did do this before.
Yeah, one time.
Yeah. All right, Derek's connection is bad, so we're going to start with Lex. Derek, we'll come back to you. Lex, go ahead. What you got for us?
Quick, and I try not to, because you know my affinity for you guys, but I try not to go in all the time. But I had to say something about this. So what I think we are missing is the fact of generational action. Okay. So for example, our parents in their generation was in a generation of men who got this is not everybody's dad, so don't throw tomatoes at me. But some dads would come up missing, right? So you have a lot of single mothers. So when we say boss babe, boss bitch, I don't like the term bitch, but my thing is that a lot of women were forced in the role of being masculine because the man wasn't present, okay? And that has birthed the generation of these boss women. And I have noticed a lot of single mothers and women who are single who happen to be bosses generally want a man who can lead her and give her that masculine energy. However, that I've noticed a lot of men, my ex-husband included, who have been raised by a woman who is strong or who has been a single mother. And so they have also fallen into that same identity or that same paradigm. And so with that said, it's not so much of a person's mental state of saying, oh, I'm gonna be about. I think it's more generational than we are giving it credit for. And what that's gonna take is us shifting our paradigm. But that's difficult because first you have to address that that's what it is. That's all I wanted.
Okay, let me very gently challenge that thought process a little bit, okay? And here's how I'm gonna try. So again, this is one point that there are a lot of things with regards to Kevin Samuels that I don't agree with, but there are some points that he does spit which are numbers that I do agree with. I think was it around the 80s, 70s or 80s, government assistance kind of kicked in, and our Black families were forced separation in order to gain these benefits. That wasn't a decision that was made by Black men. Granted, yes, our parents lived in that era, and that's kind of the era that they grew up in. But prior to, our families were together, and they stuck together. Hell, we were even getting married through slavery. So, and all the way up until around the 80s, which I think the crack era kicked in, and then government assistance kicked in, which forced us in different directions. So men weren't in the homes, not by choice, but by need, by necessity, via getting this assistance. So yes, women did naturally have to step up and take on a masculine role because the men weren't there. But it was by no means, and I want to make this clear because as a man, I want to defend us in that regard and say, hey, we didn't make that decision on our own. We didn't choose to leave our families. Hell, even today, and again, this is another point that I do agree with Kevin Samuels, the majority of men or the majority of divorces that are filed by women. Now, we can debate, or it's because infidelity, it's because abuse, etc. But at the end of the day, we're not leaving the table. We're still trying and attempting to stay with our women. So I circle back around to let's take accountability without placing a finger or pointing a finger at men and saying that men either A, didn't do what they were supposed to do for whatever reason, or are not doing what they're supposed to do for whatever the reason.
Facts.
I think we're attempting to stay. I think we are truly attempting to stay in our relationships. A good portion of Black men want to be there. They want to be in the homes. Do we have our issues? Absolutely. And we'll talk about that in another show. We'll beat up men in another show. But, I think that we genuinely and truthfully do want to be with our women. And I think we're making those efforts too. So to your point, yeah, I will say to your point, though, yes, I think that we have to give, especially Black women, sympathy and empathy with regards to the position that they're in, via it be their own or by circumstance, whatever the case may be, them needing to take on both roles. Yes, I totally agree with that. And their inability to turn it off when they do get in relationships, I can agree with that. But it all circles back to, yes, you still have to take accountability for checking that when you do get into this relationship to ensure that this cycle doesn't continue. So it's going to be now. Yeah, it has to happen now. Yes. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I agree with that, but how do you address that when the woman is so used to being in that dominant role because she had to be, and addressing it to where she can now feel like she can step back? Like, how do you do that? Because now she's already in a period. Now she's already, in a mindset because of, like how do we address that so that we can shift the way?
I'm gonna let you come in.
Sorry.
I promise you. I'm gonna let you come in, but let me get this real quick.
Okay.
Okay. So it's literally gonna come down to a choice. You have to make a choice, right? You have to look at things on a grand scale and say, am I better with a man or am I better without a man? If you decide that you're better without a man, continue on. Do what you need to do, or continue doing what you're doing. If you feel like you're better with a man, then you genuinely have to do a lot of introspective work to say, okay, where am I hurting this relationship? If you're hurting this relationship via your strength, quote unquote, then you might need to look at that and say, okay, I need to correct that. A lot of men, and I'm just going to speak from a male's perspective because I'm a man, like, we don't want that. It's just as simple as I can make it. I want to lead. I'm given tools naturally to lead. I'm being trained and groomed by the elders that I seek out. You've been around for Soul. Soul has expressed this to us, right? Go find elders. Go talk to elder men. Get yourself around men. A good portion of us men are doing that. So we're preparing ourselves. We're prepping ourselves to lead. Let us. Like, you literally just have to get out of the way. When there are times where you want to step up, you want to say certain things, don't. And that's hard to do.
That's
Yo.
all.
You got to work on it.
Yo.
You got to find ways to allow us to lead.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let
Derek, go
me
ahead. I
add.
don't want to let you speak, brother.
It's all good. Let me add to what Abdul is saying from a man's perspective as well, right? You're Lexi, right? Just want to make sure. Okay, Lex. Okay, my bad, Lex. Okay, so Lex and everyone else that, you know, I've heard that a lot from a lot of my female friends as well. They go into a masculine role, and because they're used to that masculine role, they end up being stuck in it. But I think where the issue really comes is if you are going after men or you're choosing men that don't have that masculine aspect in their life already, I feel there's a problem with the picker and not necessarily the man. I can't go to a child and be like, hey, teach me how to drive if they've never done it before, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on the same token, I need to go to a professional. I need to go to someone that is actually that. I'm going to go talk to that professional driver. Well, in this case, if women are struggling to find a masculine man, it's not so much they're not there. We're all over the place. It's a matter of, what are you choosing? Are you choosing off of just looks? Are you choosing off of just height? Are you choosing off of just financial gain? Are you choosing because of just on a superficial level? You're choosing aspects of a man. Matter of fact, I have a friend that told me about a man that she just met, and he is the head of household, right? Has a good job, but his house, he never wants anyone to come to his house because it looks like it's falling apart. But he has the Benz, he has the nice clothes, he has the haircut. But his mama, his sister, and the other females in his household, they're living basically in a slum when he's got it. That's not a masculine man. No true man is going to sit back and be in a feminine role and worry about his looks when there's something that needs to be taken care of. And that's what I'm saying.
Right.
And I told her, just like I'm saying now, you're going after the wrong guy, because if you don't like that he always looks nice but his family looks trash, then you shouldn't want that, because he's going to do that with you. That's not and that's not a masculine man. That is a low I won't say feminine. I'll say a low functioning feminine man. You know.
Let me say this. I wanna hop in. One of the things that I
Go for it.
heard a long time ago spoke to me. Men, when you choose a woman, you need to choose a woman based on how she takes care of the world. Women, choose a man based on how he takes care of the woman in his life, be his daughter, his significant other, his mother, his sister. How does he take care of those women? If he's taking care of those women, then he's the right man for the job. If you're choosing a woman who doesn't take care of the world, meaning, I'm gonna just start with simple stuff. If she litters, if she doesn't have a clean home, right? If she's rude to other people, if she doesn't have an affinity for children, these are the type of things that you look for in a woman. If she doesn't have those, she's not the right one for the job. So I heard somebody tell me that a while back, and I feel like I carried it today. So
That's funny because I told my brother, whatever women he was interested in at the time, I was like, listen, John, the first time you go to her house, go to two places. One, even if you don't have to, say, I got to go to the bathroom. And then after that, ask for some water. You gotta come on, guys. Am I lying? Am I lying,
Yeah,
guys? In
No,
the
Vicky, you
chat,
on
I agree.
point. You on point, Vicky. Give them the code.
you
Give
go
them the
into
cheat
the
code.
Yeah.
listen, you go into the bathroom, you checking medicine cabinets, you looking for rings in the tub,
You pulling
you
out
looking
Google.
for skittly marks in the toilet, you looking to see if there's food in the fridge, you looking for all this stuff. You come on,
Baby
come
wipes.
on.
Good points though. Those are good points.
But no,
But yeah,
Esma taught me that same thing. She taught me that going to even like friends, having female friends, like, how does she take care of us? Like that's just something because you become who you surround yourself with.
That's a great
Absolutely.
point. That's a great
That's
point.
the point.
And I will say that too, right? And we've talked about this with Soul when he was on. Who's your circle? Do you have women in your circle that are women that can cooperate, that are women that are looking for a man that praise men when they need to be praised, obviously, right? Is that your circle? Men, are you around men that are moving in the right direction, that are making things happen, that are looking to build their families? Are you doing that? If you're not, you need to get a new circle. You are the 5 people you hang around most. So who are those people?
Oh yeah.
And once you can be
so
around people that move in that direction, those are the people you need to be around. So good points. I like
but
that, Lex.
so Lex, I actually wanted to ask you a question, boo. Do you feel like at this current space in your life, do you feel like you have to operate in a darker or more negative way?
I will say when me and my ex-husband split up,
Mhm.
yes. Now it's been about 3.5 years. I do consider myself a boss, but I'm not selling flat tummy tea. Not too much, not too much educators because I'm a boss in my own right as an educator, but it goes back to me having that affinity for kids always. It goes back to me having that affinity for the community because at what I do, I have to reach out to the community that supports the school that I'm in. You see what I'm saying? So I have to make my presence known in that community. So for me, when I think of a boss female, a boss babe, I see it in a different light. Okay. First,
Okay.
you're calling yourself a boss bitch, then most likely you're not that much of a boss. You put yourself down. And it's nothing with being humble and having humility, but still, like it's like that. I'm even attracted to men who have that quiet, humble, but still leader type. Like that is the
So it.
sexy shit to me. Excuse my language, but like I feel like a woman can do the same thing. So I don't feel like I'm operating in that darker female femininity because I've had to go through my dark night of the soul in order to get to where I'm at now.
Right.
That's awesome that you did that. I feel like we all have to go through that dark space in our lives, whether we're male or female. But I think where an issue comes in with that is not too many other people went into the darkness and then came out better on their own accord. Some people choose to stay in that space
They do.
and then they complain about the people that they attract. And we all know if you put out trash energy, you're going to bring on trash people, whether you're male or female.
Right.
So you
put out.
Oh yeah, go ahead. So you gotta put it out there, and you did the right thing because you went to the right places. You put yourself in front of the right people. You seeked out information. You looked for the people that displayed what you needed for your community. Just like with women choosing a man. That's all I want to say.
There you go. There you go.
But
Hey,
to answer your question, let me say this. Thank you for bringing me on because I needed to hear, like, you helped me. You helped me because I needed to hear that.
Awesome.
Good
Awesome. Thank you.
Good
Thank
stuff.
you for sharing that with us. Thank you, as always, for coming in and sharing your vulnerability and just keeping it real with us. We appreciate that.
Nope.
Thank you guys. We appreciate y'all for
All
joining.
love, all love.
Appreciate you, bro.
All
Thank
right,
you,
you guys.
Lex.
Was there anyone else who wanted to hop in and say or speak their piece?
Ah, y'all getting
Put it up.
scared.
I know.
We've done this millions of times. Y'all should hop in already. We're gonna do it again.
I
But
know.
no, that's good
Carlos.
stuff. I think I appreciate the women who did come on today and were leading with accountability. I think that that's something men definitely look for. We appreciate and respect is a woman who can say, okay, all right, I messed up. I can move in the right direction now. I think that we definitely,
Absolutely.
yeah, we definitely
So
respect that.
I think going into the conclusion portion of it, it's important to realize that feminine and masculine energy both reside in all of us. It's not just women only have feminine energy, men have it too. And all of us have the light and the dark inside of us, right? The yin and the yang. Now, depending on what you've gone through in life, childhood traumas, whether it's childhood trauma or adult trauma, it's just understanding that you have to go into the darkness, figure some shit out, heal, forgive, but come out of it, not stay in that space.
Right.
Because staying there in the darkness, it begins to cultivate this new, but ultimately lower functioning version of yourself that I don't think you're going to like in the long term. And it's not really going to bring out the best that you have to offer. It's not going to manifest the best life that you could possibly have. So, just think about those things as we prepare to sign off. Just think about, do I express some of those traits? Am I more manipulative? Am I, messier than I should be?
Like,
Whether it's socially messy or is it physically messy? I mean, ladies, are you cleaning your bathroom? Come on. I'm kidding. It's really the men I got to talk to about that. But but just ask yourself, do I have a lot of these negative traits inside of me? And if so, why is that? Is there something that I need to address on the inside? Is there someone that I need to talk to? Maybe a friend, or maybe all the way up to professional level. Yeah. So think about those things and realize, what could shifting my mentality, shifting my behavior, what could that do for my life?
Yeah.
What could that do for me, my loved ones? How could this make me a better version?
I agree. Let me summarize all that up and say, lead with love and not fear. Mm-hmm. I think that when you stay in that fear place, right, you tend to find yourself making the wrong decisions and moving in the wrong direction. It's extremely bold, unapologetic, and fearless to be loving, to lead with love. And I'm speaking from a male's perspective. So when in dealing with yourself first and your significant other, lead with love. Lead with love. It tends to help. So
I love that. Well, you guys, since we don't have anyone else, we're gonna end it here.
Wrap it up.
And wrap things up. This concludes episode 15 of On the Spectrum. Thank you so much to everyone in this chat who joined us tonight. Yeah. You could have been anywhere else, doing anything else, but you decided to be here with us, and we appreciate that. Please join us next week, same time, Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard for episode 16.
All right, y'all. Thank you guys for joining. We appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all next time. Y'all be good.
Bye.